And they're kind of like this general life theme, they say, right? That
Mhm.
much true?
Yeah.
Okay. And so really it's often referred to as like your life path or your life purpose, that kind of thing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Or maybe you've heard like the plot outline of your life, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And so, first of all, I know you know more about it now. So
Mhm.
let's talk about where the building blocks of the Incarnation Cross come from. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley, on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello there, Haley. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi. Good day. Good day. It's good to see you again.
Yes.
And welcome back to
Mhm.
the Human Design Hive podcast. And we're going to throw it back here a little bit today. We're going to kind of go back a few paces and revisit a topic because Haley has, even though we talk about it all the time, Haley has let me know she needs a refresher, a better
It's
understanding
still a little vague of a concept.
of the Incarnation Cross, even though we explain it, Incarnation Cross. Like, what exactly, so what are you uncertain about, really, when it comes to what the Incarnation Cross is and significance and whatnot?
I mean, it's more of it's just been so long since we've like really talked about what it means.
Like
Like
the
not just,
mechanics and stuff, like
yeah, and like
explaining it?
just overall, like not specific incarnation crosses, just like what it
Mm-hmm.
is. Like
Mm-hmm.
and you said it was our episode number 10 and then
I
laughed at
did.
how little I knew.
Well, when I realized it would be a good time probably to maybe revisit this topic, and for many reasons. One, like you said, it's been a while, and I did not realize it was episode 10 that we got into so that's
Yeah.
over 2 years ago. And when I said how little you knew, was not a slight, but it was because reading the transcript and seeing like, okay, so what do we talk about? Yeah, you weren't even clear on a lot of things like type and stuff, which is why we've redone the little intro. If you guys listen to it, it's very brief, but Haley's no longer a newbie.
Yeah.
And also, even though I'm the one that's quote unquote teaching or guiding you through this, I'm always learning, and
Mhm.
because I love to learn. And
Mhm.
as I went back through my notes and stuff about cross and everything, I was like, I made new connections as well. So even if you've listened to it before, this, like you said before, no matter what, if we revisit the same topic, we're going to have a different conversation.
Mhm.
And because we're different people, we
Yeah.
know different things and we have different ways of being informed now. Plus, like I've always said, you read the same book different times, you learn new things.
Mhm.
Although, do you rewatch the same movies a lot, or
I am a notorious movie rewatcher, show rewatcher.
but like, do you sit
Like,
down and watch it from beginning to end like a movie you've besides Twister, the movie Twister? I
yes,
know that
I
much.
have feel good movies. What did I just watch? I just watched, well, I was gonna sit down and watch A Day After Tomorrow, but then I got watching other disaster movies. But
Mm,
yes, I will sit down, I will start at the beginning of a movie and I will watch it through as if I have never seen it before.
hmm.
I love to rewatch shows.
Yeah.
One of my go-tos, my feel good, How I Met Your Mother. It's gotten to the
Hmm.
point where I like to note, like I'll notice new things, kind of more Easter eggy things. But like,
Hmm.
oh yes, it's
Yeah.
my comfort things.
Well, I mean, I'm the kind that I won't intentionally set. Now, your Aunt Nancy, she will always watch. I mean, there's movies I think that she has watched many times, like has the DVD of it. My mom had a big DVD collection. I can't even play a DVD anymore. I wouldn't even like. I don't have. I think we do have a Blu-ray device tucked away in a drawer somewhere, but who does that? Like, how would you even hook everything up anymore? I don't even know. But yeah, I have TV shows I could like my go-to will always watch and always laugh and always enjoy is Modern Family, and that's just end all be all for me is Modern Family, which we're rewatching through currently through the lens of Lakeland, who's not watched them. So they're all new to her, so that's always fun too. But
One
and
that
we are
was really
watching The
fun.
Office.
Can't. One show that was really fun to rewatch was The Witcher. Because you know the
Oh yeah.
first season, you
I
don't
haven't seen the
realize.
most current season.
Well, I'm just going to talk about the first season.
Okay.
But the
Real
first
quick.
season, you don't realize that it's in different timelines when you
Oh,
first
yeah,
start
yeah.
watching it. And then you get to the end, you're like,
Spoiler.
oh my God, it's been out so long.
I do need to watch that again. Well, anyways, it's a total digression, I guess.
Not entirely.
Yeah. Well, revisiting things, revisiting topics, and always finding something new. And so cross, so we're going to talk about Incarnation Cross and really its significance, but also like how to understand how it functions. And, you know, it may get a little deeper than you need to, but I can't help it. Like, I really have to understand certain aspects of things to grasp it. And I understand more now about the system as a whole when I went and looked at cross this time. And so I'm excited. Okay. So Incarnation Cross. So basically, when we're talking about Incarnation Cross, and we've been doing it now for months, highlighting a certain Incarnation Cross at the end of the episode. We're always talking about, oh, there's 192 of them. And they're kind of like this general life theme, they say, right? That much true?
Yeah.
Okay. And so really it's often referred to as like your life path or your life purpose, that kind of thing, right? Or maybe you've heard like the plot outline of your life, that kind of thing. And so first of all, I know you know more about it now. So let's talk about where the building blocks of the Incarnation Cross come from. So how is it? There's 4 numbers in an Incarnation Cross. What are those 4 numbers? Where are they coming from?
So those are the sun and earth on the conscious and the unconscious side.
The gates of the sun and earth.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so if we were going to break it down even further, on the conscious side is the sun and earth gate is derived from the moment you're born. They say the moment that you separated from the mother, take your first breath as close as could be, because even though you might know your time of birth, how accurate the nurse or whoever was to look up at the second.
They're like, oh shit, was that 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, but generally they're pretty close.
Yeah.
And not everybody has their exact time, and there's ways to try to figure that out to the closest approximation. But also when you don't know your birth time, we're going to talk about a little bit later, you can see why it's important to nail it down to a certain time frame, because things can change throughout the day. Cross is one of them, as far as what time you were born. So the conscious side is the numbers on the right side of the chart. That on a traditional chart, you'll see usually the numbers are in black. So it'll be the sun and the earth, the top 2 numbers. And then on the red side, on the other side of the chart, unconscious, is roughly 3 months before you were born. It's 88 solar degrees, they say. And that is what sets human design apart, because it's a calculation of not just the moment you're born, but also before you were born, bringing together these 2 layers of who you are, this kind of soul incarnation in a body, and what the planetary influences are when those come together, roughly. So Incarnation Cross is like, well, let me say this first. What do we know about the sun expressions in our chart? What's the significance of that?
It's well, I'm gonna say it's more of like what you're reaching for, what you're guided to, because like the sun is a light, it guides you. Like I know what the earth is, but I'm not so sure on the sun.
Okay, so what do you say the earth is then?
So the earth is what grounds you. It's what
Mm-hmm.
keeps you in place.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so the sun gate in your chart is the largest expression of who you are. So it's like 70% of your personality, we'll say, doing those air quotes again, is informed by the sun, because in the human design system, we talk about neutrinos, which are these infinitesimally small particles that are constantly moving through our universe, and they move through us, they move through structures, they move through the earth, like constantly streaming through. And this is proven by science now.
Mhm.
When human design was delivered, there was no scientific proof of this, but however, there is now. And so these neutrinos, as they pass through, it's kind of like they bring with them wherever they've passed through, passes through and keeps going. So we have this imprint of what's happening in the cosmos imprinted on us in this time space
Mhm.
reality we call Earth in our lifetime.
So
So the
cool.
sun is a very, 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 very large astrological body that our whole
That it
world
is.
revolves around, literally. And so the most of those neutrinos that pass through us are from the sun. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why it holds such significance in our designs. Okay. I was getting off on a neutrino rant there. So Incarnation Cross then takes these signature moments in time, sun and earth, on when you were born and before, and gives us these signature themes, this outline of what our incarnation, our time, this time on earth is about. Because
Mhm.
the sun energy is the energy that you express, right? All of our defined gates in our design, our energy is energy that we express, right?
Mhm.
Because it's defined. So that
Right.
means it's consistent within us,
Mhm.
right? So this job description, this plot outline, it really is what you're here to bring to everyone else. It's your energetic signature, and it's the theme that you carry within you that serves others because it's affecting others. It's not really anything you have to do, right? You don't
Mhm.
like suddenly activate it by being a good person or having a certain job or being in a certain location. It's always there.
Mhm.
It's just what energy expression or what high or low expression are you going to be in of your cross.
Okay.
And also, another thing to note is that it is also the theme that everything in your chart is pointing towards, because it's almost like if you look at all the gates that are represented in your chart, sun, earth, and all the other planets,
Mhm.
as you go down that list all the way through your personal planets down to the outer planets all the way to Pluto. Pluto's very, very far away,
Oh,
but
Pluto.
its everyday effect on us is a little different than those things that are very close to us because of the influence. So it's almost like a inverted funnel. The small end of the funnel is up at the top of the chart. Everything is filtering into that funnel to get expressed out through those sun gate themes. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I like to say that it's almost like cross is kind of, if you want to look at the incarnation cross, I've never heard this before. This is totally me saying this, but it kind of is like the cliff notes of your incarnation. It's what you're here to do. It's kind of like the cliff notes. Let's just
Okay.
synopsize it down because it's those main themes in your
Mhm.
chart. Okay. So we got that much, right? Okay.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that Ra Ra Uru, who channeled this system and brought it into the world, and it said that he was kind of hesitant to bring through Incarnation Cross as a teaching. Like, he waited a while. Cross, he said he was hesitant to teach it because he felt like it would be kind of a distraction, because it's kind of like it's not what he calls personal. It's not a personal thing in the sense that it's not about you really so much your
Mhm.
cross is, because it's an outward expression. It's the energy you embody. And it's kind of like you have a responsibility to others to be in that highest expression of yourself, because then they benefit from the highest expression of your incarnation cross. And if you think about, we are all meant to work together. We talk about it all the time, right?
Mhm.
We're drawn to each other, and cross is a big part of that. It's going to, sometimes you will see that there might be people in your lives for certain times or certain purposes. And then if you really dug into what happened, the influence that they had in your life, or what occurred in your life while this person was around, or just the changes that happened in your life because, not because of this person, but maybe during this time in your life and this person was around, whether or not they had anything to do with the change within you, you still might see that there might be a relation between what their cross is and what occurred in you at that time,
Mm.
if it
Mhm.
provided energy that you needed in order to either get to where you wanted to be or change something or grow or something like that.
Okay.
Do you remember hearing that before?
No.
Really? It's all new to you.
Yep.
Okay, so he was hesitant to bring it through because he thought people might see it as something that you had to do, like you had to work at it or achieve
Mm.
it. But it, like I said, it's not something you have to do. It's something that you be. It's a thing of being, not of doing. And so he said that really at birth, Incarnation Cross is really this potential within you. And our whole lives, we are conditioned and we're led to believe different things. And that kind of gets us away from our cross and that expression, because we're not fully living that
Mhm.
expression of our cross, right? Which is why they talk so much about human design being for children and for the children. Because if you could start with a knowledge of what this person is here to bring into the world, you would, like, as a parent, want to encourage that. I would
Mhm.
think. I mean, I woulda.
Yes.
I tried. I didn't have that knowledge, but I tried to let you
Mhm.
lead the way as far as what you felt was right for you, and with guidance, but
Mhm.
always trying to encourage what's right for you or what feels good to you, right? So so if it's that potential there, when it starts to manifest is when you are living in alignment with who you are, which, I mean, there's plenty of people who've lived out their cross without knowing anything about human design, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We've looked at people's designs of famous people who are much older or
Mhm.
definitely probably have no knowledge. I'm sure Shaquille O'Neal doesn't know anything about his incarnation cross, but he's
Probably
pretty,
not.
he's, a lot of his things in his design are radiating through because he's being himself. He's
Mhm.
following what's right for him. So when you start living, if so, okay, let's put it this way. So like for yourself, like I just said, you didn't we didn't know what your incarnation cross was until like 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Because definitely 2 years we knew, but 3 years ago, whatever, when I first started sharing a lot of this stuff with you,
Mhm.
is when it started to be like, oh, well, it made sense because you, for the most part, except for your projectorness, you well, you weren't really clear you were a projector and how you should be using that energy, right?
Mhm.
Right? You
Yeah.
were acting more like a generator most times and feeling bad that you didn't have the same energy reserves. Like you had a lot of energy, but you didn't. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah. 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 I felt like I had to do more.
Yeah. Like, yeah, yeah. And so, but other than that, without knowing about your cross, once we did find out what your cross is, it does start to make sense that as far as certain leadership qualities that you have, and that you do have this very sharp mind and have an eye for certain things, but you're also very motivated by your leadership is motivated by helping people and nurturing people, and you know what direction to lead them kind of thing. And you're very good at that, right? And so
Mhm.
that's elements within your cross as well. And that you're also very, a lot of thoughts, a lot of mental energy, because that's a big part of your cross too.
Mhm.
64 and 63 are your sun and earth. So it's like there's going to be a lot of mental energy there.
Yeah.
So anyways, cross can, I think in learning about Incarnation Cross, why it can be important other than to be that kind of shiny object, or like Ra
Mhm.
would say, dangling a carrot of like, ooh, let's focus on this aspect, even though we don't quite
Mhm.
understand it. But it it can be quote unquote worked with because it can show you. I mean, a lot of times when we come into this work, we are more in that not self shadow behaviors. We don't
Mhm.
always, let me see what I'm trying to say. We're often in these shadow behaviors. And so knowing your cross and what like the high or low expression of it could kind of help guide you as far as knowing that my full potential is this, right? My full
Mhm.
potential is the expression of this cross and its fullest potential, which is just the fullest potential of those four gates combined. So you can be like, oh, okay, well, and I can attest to this for myself. You can be like, oh, well, I can see that I am maybe in this low aspect or in a fear aspect of what my potential could be. And it gives you kind of like a direction, like I said, a
Mhm.
guidepost of where it is you would know that you're being who you should be because it shows you in these four gates. Does that make sense? Did that
Yeah,
overcomplicate things or did that?
no, I don't think you overcomplicate it. It's like, I mean, I like when we have our little segment at the end because like I've said, it feels like a warm hug. Like it feels like such a good thing. And when
Mhm.
you come into human design and you kind of see that, it's like, I don't know, it just feels so warm and so good. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what I can get to. Like I can work on
Exactly.
myself. And it's not working towards that necessarily, but it's working on yourself for overall to become better.
Yeah, because it shows you your true potential of when you are, like I said, living in alignment, being your authentic self. This is the gift you bring to the world. Your cross is here to serve others, not you,
Mhm.
right? It's not about what it does for you. It's what you can do for others and what you bring to the table. Because every description we've talked about says that this is what you're here to
Mhm.
do. This is who you're
You're
here to
here to help
help. This
others
is
do this.
yeah, and so it's not about you. It's like when you walk in the room, you're bringing that energy with you, right? It's your energy. And so you get to consciously choose when you're looking at cross. If you realize you're in this low state, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not serving fully as I could be. What do I need to shift or change within myself in order to move out of that low expression, that shadow expression? Because you're going to go back and forth all the time. Just because you realize the potential of your cross does not mean you like hang out there all the time because we're human.
Yeah.
We forget everything.
S
we,
Especially
we
nowadays.
forget all the time. And that's what personal development or this self journey is like all about. You have to just keep recalibrating. You have to keep coming back over and over again. That's why it's a practice. Meditation's a
Mhm.
practice. Mindfulness, all these things are a spiritual practice, right? You have to be aware of what's happening. So that's the overview. So when we do our segments, we're always like breaking it up. We say this is a left angle cross, a right angle cross,
Mhm.
a juxtaposition cross, right? So
Yes.
I cannot tell you why it's right angle, left angle as far as the mathematics part of it, like the left and right. I can just
There's
tell you
probably
what
some
they
trig
are.
in there. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's talking about the mandala and where it is to relation to the sun and all this. I don't get that, but what I can break down for you is the significance of what the different types of crosses are
Yes.
and what they.
Okay.
And cross is very closely tied to profile, which I know you know that, right?
Yes, I do know that.
Yes,
Test
yes,
myself on
because
that.
because when we're talking about those sun and earth gates, incarnation cross being that sun and earth gate is not just that singular number, it's the number, decimal point, and then another number, which
Mhm.
is what makes up your profile. Because yours is what, 63.6, right? Is your sun,
Mhm. Yep.
right? So that makes you, and then on the other side, it's 45.
26.
Oh, sorry, 26.2. So that means you're a 6'2" profile,
Mhm.
which makes you also a left angle profile.
Yes.
So let's talk about the three different kites. Three different types.
We're flying kites now.
So let's talk about the three. Okay, stop laughing. So let's talk about the three different types of cross:
Mhm.
right angle, left angle, and juxtaposition, and what that means. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, in total, there's 192 variations of incarnation crosses,
Mhm.
right? Which that sounds like a lot. It is. Most of that's responsible for the juxtaposition crosses. But anyway, so I digress. I get ahead of myself. So the right angle crosses are linked to the first 7 profiles. And so that means that if you have a right angle cross, means your profile is either starts with a 1, 2, 3, or you're
A
a
4-6.
4, 6, correct. And so these profiles are since what we know a little bit about profile is that the first 3 numbers there, the 1, 2, and 3, are a lot more personal, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
so these incarnation crosses are going to be a lot more self-focused, personal applications of this energy. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the people that have these incarnation crosses, they are consisting of profiles that are a lot more self-focused, right? So that means that their journey through life, their life path, is about their own personal experience. And there's talk around incarnation cross and karma. And they say that if you, which take it or leave it, I'm just going to tell you what they say. They say that if you have a right angle cross, the more personal, self focused journey through life, you're creating karma, is what they say. I'm just going to say it like that. They're creating karma.
Okay.
That's what they say. Mainly because your focus in life is not really, or your learning experience, your focus in this lifetime is not dependent on others. It's really what you experience and what you learn as you get to know yourself better and journey through life in that way. And
Mhm.
the impact that you make through your cross and through your life is the impact that you're going to make is going to be really a byproduct of your own personal journey and the way you
Mhm.
live your life. Which one of the first profile in the whole series is the 1-3, and the 1-3 is the most self-focused profile there is because it's all about what they learn, what they know, and what they experience, and what they create, like all these things. It's all very much like taking the information and messing with it and seeing if they can break it, take it apart, put it back together, experiment. It's very
Mhm.
much your husband, my husband, I believe, both of them, 1-3s. They are very self-focused. I mean,
Mhm. They are.
yeah. Yeah. And not self-focus is not selfish, or what's the other word I'm looking for? Self-absorbed. Those
Yeah.
have negative connotations to them if you want to take it that way. But I see it as their contribution is the world is what they learn about themselves.
Mm.
Because you can't say that a 1-3 can't have an impact on those around them because whatever they do, people notice.
Mhm.
And they help people by their own
I mean, they're a
experience.
resource. They're a resource
They're a
in a way.
resource. Yeah,
Yeah.
a 1-3 is going to help those around them because they say the 1-3 is kind of like the mad scientist. Their main focus is trying things out, becoming an authority on things they're interested in, but it's through their own, but it's through their own experience that they become the authority. They
Mhm.
test it,
Yeah.
they try it, and then they help
I
others by
know.
saying, "No, don't do that. You don't need to fuck with that. Like it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Just do it
I
this
know
way."
I know I don't have to research certain things because I know that if he isn't already, he's going to.
That's right. And so the right angle crosses, there's only 16 of them by name, 16 named uh, right angle crosses, but they consist of 64% of the population has a right angle cross.
Mhm.
So what does that
Now,
tell you?
is that including when you say named, that would
Mhm.
just that would not include like if it's like the Sphinx one, or is that like, do
Yeah,
you see what I'm
so
saying?
yes, I do, because I was going to address that. So
Okay.
the right angle cross of, well, the example I have is the right angle cross of Eden. But yeah, so the right angle cross are 16 total, but it's the largest percent of the population has a right angle cross, which it happens, say like Eden, you said Sphinx, but let's go with
Mhm.
Eden because that's what I
Yeah,
have
that's
written
what you
down.
have.
That cross occurs 4 times a year, depending on the quarter of the year. So it's
Mhm.
the same combination of the same 4 gates, but just in different order.
Mhm.
It's so like the right angle cross of Eden starts off in the first quarter with gate 36 is the sun gate.
Mhm.
Okay. And so that means it's 36 and 6 as the sun and earth on the conscious, and then the 11 and 12 on the other side, the unconscious. So it's
Okay.
those 4 gates that, of course, because we know that the sun and earth gates are linked together, right?
Mhm.
So if you have sun in 36, you're always going to have earth in 6.
Right.
Likewise, if you have sun in 6, you're always going to have earth in 36 because they're opposite each other on the wheel. They're always
Mhm.
moving together. And so the themes of this gate, of this cross, the themes of this cross is going to contain these 4 energies, but which one is more dominant and which one is
Mhm.
what's the main expression is going to change throughout the year. And so the right angle cross of Eden, like I said, that first one, and then the right angle cross of Eden 2, 12 is the lead gate instead. So it's 12, 11, and 36, 6. And that would
Mm.
be in the second quarter, which is, what's the second quarter? First quarter
Civilization.
is, yeah, what's the first quarter?
It's all
Initiation? Is
mental. Yeah, initiation. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
Because it's
right?
about creating the ideas, the design. All it's all mental. I think that's right.
Right. Second quarter, civilization. Third quarter, duality. Third quarter, right angle cross of Eden consists of 6 as the lead gate. So it's 6, then 36 on the personality side. And then on the other side, it's 12 and 11. And then in the last
I
quarter
see.
of the year, the right angle cross of Eden starts off with gate 11, and then 11 and 2, and then on the other side, 6 and 36. So that's how it breaks down.
I like
Um,
how it moves.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you like
It
that?
crosses unconscious to conscious, and then it goes
Mm-hmm.
back and it flip-flops earth and sun, and then it goes that flip-flop back to conscious and unconscious.
I love how your brain works because you don't even have a visual, you don't even have it
Nope.
written out in front of you, and you made that, and I like am looking at it and I don't see the
I mean, as soon as you told me that the second quarter they flipped conscious to unconscious, I was like, "Oh, I bet I know where this is going."
That's so good. Wow, that's amazing. Because I had to keep looking down and like as I was writing it down, be like, now which one's first? No, no, wait. I love that. Okay, so so that's the right angle crosses. So very self-focused. There's those
Mhm,
16 main core, and so that means that those main 16 crosses, which I had a list somewhere. I do reference Brynja Magnuson's book on Incarnation Cross, which is awesome. She breaks it down real easy too, but she gives you the lists of the cross names. And so they're the major ones you hear all the time. Like we just said, you said
mhm.
Sphinx, you were able to pull one out because you've heard it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, the Vessel of Love,
Mhm.
Cross of Eden, all these things. These are big themes, right? Okay, so and so I will just list real quickly. That means that those are people with profiles with the 1 3, the 1 4, 2 4, 2 5, 3 5, 3 6, and the 4 6. That's all the right angle ones. Okay, so let's say the left angle crosses then.
Yee.
So the left angle crosses are going to be linked to the last 4 profiles. And I'll just start off with those. Those are
Mhm,
the 5 1, the 5 2, the 6 2, the 6 3. Okay. And so these 4 profiles are, or excuse me, these crosses, the left angle crosses are more transpersonal is what they call them,
Mhm.
meaning it's connected to others. Their destiny, their life path, or whatever is going to involve other people. It says that they are working out karma in the sense that maybe they created karma in another lifetime. This time, whatever it is they've learned or processed, whatever, they're working it out because their karma involves their lifetime involves other people, which makes sense, right? Because what do we know about 5 and 6 profiles
Uh,
as the lead number? What's the line 5 and a line 6? What are main themes with line 5s and line 6s as far as how they interact with the world?
I mean, collectively, I don't I don't know what you're trying to lead me to here.
Okay, I'm trying. That's good. That's fine. A line 5.
Mhm.
Okay. A line 5. What is it about their profile that is significant? What are the main signatures? What are they? I mean, they're called the
Tick.
heretic. Hmm.
I mean, they tell people what
What's
they
your
need.
favorite term about the
No,
line
the mic
5?
drop.
No,
Oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. Strangers of consequence.
that's right. They are called the heretic, but also in quantum, which I like how she refers to it more. It's visionary leaders. They're
Mhm.
leaders. They have
Oh,
leadership energy,
leadership. That's what you're trying to get to.
and why are they called strangers of consequence? Like, why is that a
Because
theme?
they may have an effect on someone and not even it may not have been something big to the line 5, but it's something
Hmm.
that is really big and really important to the person that they could have just honestly walked by or like
Hmm.
said one word to. Like it can be something so
Hmm.
little, but it's very meaningful and important to the person that they interacted with.
Yeah. And that's one aspect of it. Definitely. It's like they're going to impact the world in some way. And
Mhm.
meaning that unlike a line 4, they don't have to have a personal connection with the people that they impact, right? So
Mm.
when they say they're leaders and visionary leaders, they're very innovative and they have these solutions and they see things differently and they're here to bring new things through, right? And they are meant to impact the collective. They are meant to
Mhm.
impact everyone, and they don't it's not like a small group. They could be these people that change the world through their existence. And so like you said with that strangers of consequence things means like they don't have to know you in order to
Mhm.
impact you. They just do. And I think when I think back to our profile series, I think we were talking about it was like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, because he's like a 5'2", I think, maybe. One of those. I don't know. And he's definitely impacted a lot of people without knowing them personally. But anyway,
Mhm.
so the crosses here, there's going to be more of them. There's 32 left angle crosses. The combination of those gates happen twice a year. Okay, so like the left angle cross is 34% of the population. It's a smaller sect, right? So the example I have is the left angle cross of demands.
Mhm.
Uh, in the first part of the year, it's when it occurs, it's in Sun's in gate 52, Earth's in 58 on the personality side, and on the other side, it's gate 21 and 48. And
Okay.
then cross of demands 2, it just flips the Sun and Earth gates. It just the lead gate then becomes 58 and 52, and on the other side, they're flipped as well, 48 and
Mhm.
21. So there's not 4 permutations, there's just 2 of it.
Well, and this may not even be an answer that you know, but why are they not just why is it different names for the crosses even though it's the same gates, just different ordering?
No, that they have the same that one has the same name, it's just cross left angle cross demands and left angle cross demands too.
Okay, so it does have the same name.
Yeah, they have the same name.
Now, when you said there's 32,
Mhm.
was that one including one and twos?
What?
Because like so for the right angle
Uh-huh.
crosses, you said there were
Mhm.
16 different names, but there's really 64 incarnation crosses because
Variations of it. There's different variations of it.
but that's
But it's
still
really
64 incarnation crosses because
no, it's looking at is the collection of those gates together. In that so yes, it is for different and I think it'll get a little bit easier to understand once I talk about juxtaposition. But the point is that the 52 and the 58, 21, and 48, that grouping of those 4 sun and earth gates together only happens twice a year. It doesn't, because of the way that the sun moves through the mandala and everything. It's tied to timing and how the sun moves. And because there's not an equal distribution of profiles, there's like way more 1-3 profiles than there is 1-4 profiles. There's way more 2-4s than there is 2-5s. Like, it has to do with timing, which I'm going to kind of walk through that when we talk about the 4-1 or the juxtaposition cross because of that. So just bear with us. I'm trying not to get too complicated, but it's a good question because it's
So left
one of
angle,
those things.
There's 32 different groupings.
Names. Yeah, there's 32 different names. So demands is one of them, but there's 2 variations of it.
I see.
You got it? Okay, so it's that name, but it's because it's a variation of those 4 gates grouped together.
I see.
Because that's what the cross name is about the grouping of those 4 energies together. Whether or not the lead gate is in, depending what changes it and the flavor of it is, the variation of it is which gate is in the sun expression, the main expression.
I got it.
Hopefully if you're when you're listening, you're not driving your car trying to make sense of this shit. You might be taking notes somewhere. But there will be an actual like class taught on this one day with visuals, so we all have a better understanding. Coming soon. Okay, so moving on to the juxtaposition cross so that we can see if we can't tie this together to make it make sense. So the juxtaposition cross only occurs with one profile. It's the 4-1 profile, which is me. It's 2% of the population, and there is 64 named juxtaposition crosses because there's 64 gates. Because it happens for each gate in a very small window of time as the sun is moving through each gate. Okay, and I'm going to tell you how that works in a minute.
I don't know if you told us the percentage of left angle crosses.
Oh, I think it's 34%. Yes, 34% of the population. Lesser. Because it's only 4 profiles. Okay, so there's a cross for each gate that is a juxtaposition cross. And I find what I've looked as we've been doing these incarnation crosses at the end of the episodes and everything, and just building this resource of the gates and the energies and seeing like what the theme of a gate is. The juxtaposition cross of that gate is really like a condensed synopsis. It's like the version expression of that energy. And so people with juxtaposition crosses, they say, is this bridge between the right angle and the left angle. Before you ask me what that means, just let me talk.
I wasn't going to. I understand what a bridge is.
So it's neither a personal cross nor a transpersonal cross. It's neither, but it has elements of both within it.
Thank you.
Thank you. They say that it is more of a fixed fate, they call it, meaning that it kind of is held in place. It's holding the space between the right angle and left angle crosses. And because the sun gate, it's expressing, I'm trying to language this. I have an understanding and I'm trying to language it. And I think it'll come better when I show you a progression through a gate. With one gate lasting for roughly 6 days, it is always, it's moving. The expression of that gate is moving from line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, 5, 6, right? And as it moves from that line 4, 4, 6 to from becoming a left angle cross to a right angle cross to a left angle cross, right there's a little bit of time in between that the 4-1 is there. And when it moves it shifts the cross in a way because the gates change. The main sun gate, the personalities gate, doesn't change, but on the other side, it changes. So let me walk you through that.
Because it's moving into a 1, which has to be a new gate.
There you go. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means that your life path as a juxtaposition cross is very much tied to the theme of that sun gate because it's the thing that stays constant as it transitions through that gate. Other things change, the cross can change, but the gate is still there, if that makes sense. So, what I did to help me make sense of it is I looked at my own cross, which is gate 14. I was born in 1970. My birthday's November 20th. So that's the fourth day that gate 14, the sun was in gate 14, fourth day. Okay. So I went back and looked. I'm like, okay, so when it first entered into gate 14, what was going on? You can look at these birth. I love it now. Genetic Matrix has this birth range thing where you can look at the charts according to, because this also helps if you're trying to figure out if you don't have your exact birth time, it can help you see certain things. And this is why having birth time is so important because it can change your profile. Like on the day I was born, there's 3 different profiles on that day. And that could change a lot of your personality and how you express things, right? Because you're either 4/6, a 4/1, or a 5/1. So a lot can change in a day. And it also changed your cross too, because if you were born in the beginning, you don't have the same 4 gates that you would have at the end of the day. What you do have is the same sun gate, though. That's the little juxtaposition window. So on day 1, it entered into gate 14 on November 17th. And that day started out, I looked at the whole thing. That day it started out, November 17th, 1970, started out in gate 43. And it was a 6/3 profile. Somewhere through the day, the sun entered gate 14. Okay. And when it entered gate 14, it became a 1/3 profile. And then throughout the day, it became a 1/4 profile on that same day. Okay. So over a course of 24 hours, it went from 6/3 to 1/3 to 1/4. Then, and that was the gates 14 and 8 on the personality side, 29/30 on the other side. Okay. On day 2, November 18th, same 4 gates, right? Of the Incarnation Cross, but it was went from a 2/4 profile to a 2/5 profile on that day. So 14 was in 2, the other ones were in 5. And then day 3, we're still with those 4 gates, right? It was day 3, it was a 3/5, then a 3/6, then a 4/6 at the end of the day with those 4. As we entered day 4, the day I was born, at the beginning of the day after midnight, it was still a 4/6 with those 4 gates, right? 14/8, 29/30. Then I was born around 6 p.m. So there's a little, it's usually, I think it's somewhere around a 2.5, 3 hour window of time where the sun was in gate 14
Line 4.
and line 4. But on the design side, it flipped into a new set of gates. It flipped into 59 and 55, line 1, 59, 55. Okay, so it went from a 4/6 to moving into new gates, 4/1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then by the end of that day, that night, the sun gate 14 moved into line 5, so it became a 5/1 profile. So you start to see the progression of how the sun moves. Then the day after I was born, the sun was the gate was the profile was a 5/1 and a 5/2 and 6/2. And then after that, it flips to a new gate. So you can see that throughout that whole 6 days, the sun gate was the same. But there was a time around the 4/1 when it flips into a collection of different gates. So there's still the 14 and the 8, but there's different gates on the other side. Does
I
that
see.
make sense now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
understand.
that's how I understand it to be, why it's that bridge, because the sun energy stays the same, but the flavor of it is going to change
Mhm.
because it's going to have different gates on the unconscious side, even though it still has that same flavor energy. So as that stands, then they say a lot of times you can, if you look at if you have a juxtaposition cross and you want a little even deeper meaning of trying to understand the flavor of those 4 gates that make up your incarnation cross, is to also look at the left angle cross, because it's spending time with those 4 gates, which has helped. It's a different expression because it goes into a different profile, so it's going to be expressed a different way, but still they have a same kind of collection of those 4 gate energies to get an understanding of what that means.
Mhm.
So there's that. So one last thing, and I don't want to make this too long. I feel like I got too like in the weeds there.
I don't
But
think so.
I enjoyed hearing that, like learning that again, because it made more sense to me, because I think you like it too. You like to know a little structure and order and like why things are the way they are,
Like it.
you
I
know?
love it.
I know.
I have all of the head gates. I have all of the questions.
Yes. It makes it like, I guess for me, for one, more foundational. I have a solid understanding of it now of like why. But why? Okay,
Mhm.
so if we go back to the beginning when we're like, okay, so we have this roadmap, we have these main energy expressions in our design, right?
Mhm.
And well, it's not something that we have to do, it's something we have to be. Well, how do we be it, right?
Mhm.
What would you think, just tell me what you think, would be the pathway towards just being your cross? What could you what could you do in order to be?
Okay, Yoda. I mean, it's just like, uh, I mean, just be in alignment. I'm
Okay,
just gonna.
so that's good. That's good. That's good. So what do we teach in human design that helps get you into alignment? What is the first most, not the easiest, but the like, where do we always have you start in human design with finding
Type,
alignment?
strategy, and authority.
That's right. Mainly we're going to talk about type and strategy. That yes, in order to understand how cross expresses, it really is a byproduct of, are you living according to your type and strategy? So, like I said, we talked, there could be a high and low expression
Mhm.
of it, or somewhere in between. It's not a black and
Mhm.
white, it's not a switch,
Mhm.
it's a flavor. Really, if you want to really be of service and make sure that your cross is doing the heavy lifting of like bringing this energy to people, the best way to do that is by following the strategy for your type. Okay.
Mhm.
So, why is that? It's because, well, like you said, it's what brings us into alignment. It's what reduces resistance around us, but also it's how we're meant to interact in the world, right?
Mhm.
So, real quickly, if we say, like, okay, so with a generator type, a cross is going to express differently depending on your profile, okay? Because it's just going to have that flavor on it. You're going to have
Mhm.
those gates, but how those gates play out in your cross are going to be affected by your profile, right? Because we
Mhm.
know that there's just a little flavor there with the different
All
lines of
flavoring.
how it operates. What you called it? I listed some. We just replay or whatever you called it, umami.
Oh,
Um,
I did.
yeah. And when we were talking about lines, you said it's like a umami, like a little sprinkling. You did.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so this when you're living in alignment by following how your energy is meant to work, then it allows the essence of the cross to really to bloom, to really come
Mhm.
into fruition and bear fruit, let's say. So that being said, it will also be somewhat limited the expression of your cross if you are not living according to your type, which is where most of us enter into this if we haven't been doing any kind of self exploration.
Mhm.
Is to, if you don't know how you're really meant to move through life, and you're pretty much operating by someone else's standards a lot of times,
Mhm.
and you can be rather conditioned as to how you should live according, especially as yourself, like a projector, like living more as a generator type, or
Mhm.
even a generator not honoring their sacral response is going to be a very different generator than one who is honoring their sacral
Mhm.
response, right? And so this is in Brenya's book, she gives this really great example of what this looks like for generators as far as following sacral response and like not trying to do their cross, but just be who they're supposed to be. Because she's
Mhm.
like, so say that she gives this example that of someone trying to do their cross, having knowledge of what their cross expression is supposed to be. Okay.
Mhm.
And so it's important to know for sacrals that that sacral response is always leading you to the next step. Like, we don't always have the long view. We don't know what the long view is necessarily.
Right.
We have to keep following step by step by step, whatever is pulling our sacral in a certain direction. We don't know why it's leading us there. It is literally just following it, which is why it's so hard
Literally,
to
it's
do.
it's literally trust the process. It's like the
I
epitome
know.
of trust the process.
And it's so hard to do because we're always told to have a 5, 10, 15-year plan and to plan it all out and follow the steps, and
Ugh.
then you will be successful. Whereas, like, most of us are like, well, that's why we end up in lives we don't like, because we made a 10-year plan and then disregarded signals that we were getting from ourselves of what was appropriate. So for us. So, yeah. So your strategy there is then to lead you where you're supposed to be, right? It
Mhm.
leads you to what's the best use of your energy and where you're going to be able to shine. And so the example she gave was saying someone who has a cross. She knows that her cross, she's a generator, that her cross is the cross of service. And so she's like, "Oh, okay. So I have the I live or excuse me, I was born under the Incarnation Cross of service. So that means I'm here to be of service. The highest potential is to serve others. And I think that the best way that I could express that cross is I'm going to start a charity for homeless people in New York
Mhm.
City, because what a better way to be of service than to do this, right?
Right.
But what she's really feeling called to, or something that she responded to, that her sacral responded to, was she had an interest really in a totally unrelated, this is very like, this is her example, but I love it. It's an unrelated opportunity to raising llamas in Peru.
Uh,
Okay. So here she is. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to be of service." But what really is pulling her is like, "Oh, I really want to go to Peru and raise llamas." But that is illogical. That makes no sense. What am I going to do
What am I
serving llamas?
serving?
I'm not here to serve llamas. I'm here to serve people. And it's an opportunity that she would pass up on because she didn't think she could be of service, right?
Mhm.
But what she doesn't know is that the sacral knows which direction you're supposed to go. And it could be that Peru is where you need to be because your cross, your energy is needed in Peru. It could
Mhm.
be maybe the llamas do need you, the people around them. It's maybe your energy is going to be of service to the people that live in the village that raise the llamas, or maybe it's leading you to something unrelated as far as like llamas, but it's the next step for
You have to
you to
get
make a,
there.
yeah, because maybe when you get there, then the sacral gives you something else to respond to that will connect you somewhere else or with someone else that is further down the path of getting you better in alignment to where your service, your cross of service, is really going to shine. Because remember, the
Mhm.
generator is that long game. It's a lifetime of, and this is for manifesting generators too. It is always, you're here to be masters at building things, right? Of building a life, of building relationships, of
Mhm.
building businesses, whatever it is you want to build. And so it was trying to lead her to where her energy would best be used or the next step, but she disregarded it. And then you end up doing shit. It's a waste of time or
Yeah.
not fulfilling. But
Mhm.
anyway, so that's generators. If you keep following your sacral, your cross will be pulled into service more. Service more.
Mhm.
So projectors, then it's the same kind of thing. Your cross is going to best shine. Your gifts are going to shine when what?
Wait for the invitation.
But also it's that recognition piece, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, or
like,
that.
or that. No, it is that. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you want invitations to the right things, being
Mhm.
recognized for the right things. And you guys are here to be recognized for your guidance, not the actual physical work you're doing, but how you help guide others and the support that you can lend in that way. And the correct invitations for projectors are going to help support you in uh, expressing that energy, offering that guidance, right? Because you can get invited to things that may have not be any use to you. And it has to be,
Mhm.
those invitations have to be of use to you too. It's just, there's this relationship between who you help and how they recognize you and help support you in doing your work. It's a very like symbiotic type of relationship. And so projectors, in order to fully express their cross, the energy of their cross, they need to be invited so that they are like feeling fully supported and recognized and can kind of take the pressure off of them of wondering how they're going to actually, I don't want to say do the work because they're not there to do the work. Like they might have the ideas and the guidance and can help get things into place and practice, but it's not their job to
They
do
don't have
the
to do all
physical
of it.
work. Right. They do rely on the recognition of the right, really, a lot of times, the generator types. That's who they're here to work with. Getting that right collection of generators to recognize them really helps the gifts of their Incarnation Cross shine because they're
Mhm.
really being seen and valued for the things that they know that they bring to the table. Right.
Mhm.
And what I thought was interesting, we were talking about manifestors and cross. So manifestors is the one type that there's only 9% of the population are manifestors. And a lot of their strategy is informing. And you're like, well, how is that expressed? Because we're
Mhm.
talking about it being this more like passive thing, sort of cross. And
Mhm.
this is manifestors are not passive.
No.
But interesting aspect that Brenya talks about in her book is how manifestors enter this world. They are manifestors and their energy is different and it can feel what do they call it? What do they call it? Like a they say it's more, I hate the words they use for manifestors. It has a repelling energy. But all that
Mhm.
means is like it's very close to them. It's kind of it's not
It's just like a
about other
harder
people.
shell.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just like mm.
they keep their energy close because it's like they don't need other people to get that initiation, to get that going. And so you think about a manifestor child, especially if they're a manifestor female child, it's even worse, of growing up probably feeling most of the time that they're wrong about everything because their own instincts and their own drive, it's very much it's that nonverbal internal drive that they have to initiate and to do things, right?
Mhm.
And they don't know when it's going to hit. They don't know where it comes from. It just is in them. There's no words, there's no mental processing. It's just, and nobody likes kids that just like go and do their own damn thing, right? Because we're afraid they're going to get hurt or they cause problems or it's just not the way kids are. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to always listen to you and ask permission. And so they've been conditioned to ask permission. You've got to always ask permission. And what informing does is gives the manifester their power back because
Mhm.
it it allow if they understand and stand in their own value and their own worth as a manifester and understand that no, I know myself, and this is what I want to do, or this is where I'm going to go. And I'm not going to ask anyone's permission. I'm just going to let them know what I'm up to,
Mhm.
just so they know. And that, I think, helps a manifester fully stand in the essence of who they are. And as such, their cross just becomes an expression of who they are, because they're not asking for permission anymore. They're not dimming themselves down
Mhm.
in order to fit in and be like everybody else. They are being themselves when they realize, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm just going to let everybody know what it is. And they just have to get out of
Mhm.
my way. And
Yeah.
they will. They will.
Mhm.
There's nothing. They've probably been taught that it's selfish and it's wrong and it's destructive when it's not. It's how they're meant to be. And we need them. We need manifestors to get us
Yeah.
going, to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So when they remove those limits on themselves of having to do that, then they just the cross comes through. And so lastly, reflectors. So Ra would say that reflectors cross is kind of different for reflectors, because when we're talking about Incarnation Cross, it's so much like about the sun expression and that sun gate.
Mhm.
But what's different about reflectors as far as what informs their design more than the sun?
The moon.
The moon. That's right. That's part of
La
their
luna.
strategy. Yeah, is being tied to those moon cycles, because they get a better understanding of themselves throughout the course of a 28-day cycle. They get a different flavor on how they think about things, and they take time to process. They're supposed to wait that long, not that long. They're supposed to wait that length of time to make these larger decisions, and then
Mhm.
they can be surprised as to where they are led for their cross to express. Because if they are patient and they're waiting and things kind of new things come up, new people might come into the picture in those 28 days or beyond, whatever.
Mhm.
And suddenly they might just be, because their signature is surprise, they
Mhm.
might be like, whoa. And the people around them might be surprised. They might find themselves in a place or with people that they hadn't expected when they first started out in a certain cycle. So it's a little bit different. They do have an incarnation cross, but it's like it's not as much of a uh, guiding light for them. The moon is always going to be a guide in how they feel and following the moon cycles for reflectors. So, anyways, that pretty much wraps it up for what I have right now. Is there any questions that I didn't, or anything I didn't touch on that you still had a question about incarnation cross and why we talk about it?
I mean, just what you right there at the end with the reflector, like when we do our little synopsis for if someone that's a reflector was looking at that, would
Hmm.
you suggest to also kind of add in the moon gates into that? Like they're because they have the moon is part of the chart and it is a defined gate for them.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that would be like adding an extra thing in there to kind of look at.
Well, it's always important for reflectors to get in touch with the lunar cycle. And so it the sun gate is still an expression of their energy. They were still born, right?
Mhm.
But the way I see it is incarnation crosses, like some of them, they call it, do a little more heavy lifting than others, say like in the sense, not the cross itself, but how it plays out in your design. Because like, so with my design, it's 14 and 8 and then 59 and 55. But I have the 14 and the 2, right? And I have a
Mhm.
59.6. So the 59 and the 14 are always locked into this expression of energy through those channels. It's a little bit, and they're in defined channels or defined
Mhm.
centers. So they are always, always on. And I have those two gates repeated in my chart. So there's a lot of energy that for me is about those gates.
Mhm.
There are some incarnation crosses that have, like any incarnation cross that has a 3420. It's like that's a full channel. You're a manifesting generator.
Mhm.
And the 34 and the 20 do move together as a pair, sun and earth, right? And so that's going to be one of those crosses that has more on energy. Then there's people that their crosses don't have channels in it, and their design doesn't have any channels defined. So like, how would I put that? So say I didn't have the other end of the channel with the 14 and I didn't have the 6. So I would have these 4 defined gates, but they're not in defined channels in my chart. And
Mhm.
so how that cross expresses at different times is going to sometimes change. It's not always on, right?
Mhm.
It's going to fluctuate a little bit in how it's expressed because of either the people I'm around or the transits. So that's how it is for a reflector, because they do not have any defined channels. It's going to change depending on if throughout the month it creates channels with their cross, those gates anywhere in their, if the transit does it, or the people around them. So it's not necessarily a guiding light for them, because it is going to be so flexible. What is going to be a guiding light for them is that lunar energy, because that's the cycle they can depend on, is knowing like where they have definition in their chart throughout the month, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I
That's a
understand.
long answer. It's going to be like a very long episode. But so I hope that brought more clarity and not so much confusion. But I just wanted to talk about it again, but mainly just to point out that there are all these themes, but there are variations of them. And the best way to work with cross is to not work with cross, but in but to really get in touch and understand your type and strategy in order to allow your cross to fully blossom, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. But it's always fun to know what your cross is, because you're like,
Mhm.
I want that potential. I want to see that, because it is a guiding light, because you do lose sight of what you're here for and how you help people and what the impact is you're supposed to have in the world. And there's lots of things in your chart that can confuse you about which direction to go or how you say things, whatever. But if you
Mhm.
can just keep your eye on the prize of like, this is the highest expression of who I am, then it helps you make those choices of just like following your strategy and authority.
Mhm.
Okay, so, well, if you don't have any further questions,
Mhm.
let's do one more thing about Incarnation Cross, Haley. What time is it?
The Incarnation Cross of the week.
That's right. So, we know what Incarnation Cross is. We just talked it out. And so this week, picked at random. I closed my eyes and scrolled my spreadsheet and clicked on this one. And it's the left angle cross of prevention 2.
Mm.
So now we know this is
A
a
5
left
or
angle cross.
6.
Yes, a leading profile, 5 or 6. And it's a 2. So it's somewhere later in the year. So the gates that this consists of on the personality side is the sun in gate 10, behavior of the self or self-love, earth in gate 15, gate of extremes. On the unconscious side, the sun is in gate 18, correction, and the earth is in gate 17, opinions.
So we have self-love, extremes, correction, and opinions. Is that the last one you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Leading with that gate of behavior of the self, or acting in interest of yourself, loving yourself. So, okay.
Mm.
So if you were born under this cross, you have a natural talent for observing people's behavior and offering constructive feedback to help them avoid actions that might lead to difficulties or correct harmful patterns. They have harmful patterns. Although your guidance may sometimes seem like lecturing, your goal is always to support and assist them. Your mission is to lead and inspire others to embrace self-love and to act with compassion. You demonstrate and teach the importance of living with heart, showing how discipline and resilience can lead to greatness. By helping people connect with their inner courage, rooted in that self-love and compassion, you highlight the value of authenticity. Your work focuses on teaching people to love themselves enough to be true to who they are, and then guiding them to help others to do the same. You assist them in overcoming the trauma of forgetting their worth courage, and conviction, enabling them to live genuinely and with a strong sense of self-worth.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them, as you're reading it, I was thinking so many of them are kind of centered around authenticity and just like being yourself. And it's like, oh my God, that's how you get to your cross. Is you just be yourself.
Well, and you notice that a lot of this here, there was a lot of focus on the others part. It's like you're helping others, you're guiding others, you're teaching others, because like we said, this is going to be a 5 profile, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3.
But
So we know those are the teachers and leaders.
It is still interesting that the leading sun gate is self-love, still that very much self-focused, but the outcome is very for the others.
Yeah, demonstrating. Yep. Yeah, very good. This is where it all starts coming together, making all them connections. You're like, oh, it makes sense now. This is why when you first come to it, it's like gobbledygook. What are you talking about? There's too many things here. And so
And then you're
little
like,
things like this can start to help. It may take time, but that's all right. You don't have to know everything. I like knowing everything as much as I can. But my job is also to let you know that you don't have to know everything for it to benefit you. That's like all the things that I'm drawn to. It's like, you don't really have to understand it. You just gotta like go with it. You just gotta like try it. You just gotta like try it out, see how it works. So anyways, here we go. We have come to the end of another episode, and it's been a fun one. It's been, I feel really energized by really trying to explain cross. And so I hope now you have a renewed understanding of it.
Yeah, much better.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so we'll just leave that there, and we want to thank you all for listening. And any questions you have about cross, please make sure you know that, or ask us. Make sure you can see on your whatever podcast player app you use, you'll see a ask us a question kind of thing. Leave us fan mail. We would love to answer them. We do answer them. You've heard us answer them. So as many questions as we could get, we would love to answer. My brain loves questions. Answering, trying, I hope. So anyways, okay. So, all right, Haley, it's good talking with you, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.